I'd like to welcome you to BOI Meets Wellness, a podcast that discusses the complexities, celebrations, and challenges of building a wellness ritual as a BOI, a person who is born obviously incredible. You are now listening to BOI Meets Wellness with poet, motivational speaker, and wellness lover, Evolve Benton.
BOI, born obviously incredible, especially when you wear it pretty.
Hello, BOI Meets Wellness community. I hope you're doing well today. Today's episode features the flyest of them all, Chaney Turner. Chaney Turner is a national equity thought leader, organizer, and cannabis advocate. Chaney is the chief executive officer of Beyond Equity, a nonprofit that focuses on empowering and liberating Black communities from extractive systems. They're also the owner of Town Biz Oakland and co-founder of the People's Dispensary. Chaney's work embodies the belief that those most impacted by inequities should have the power to implement solutions to those inequities. Ain't that powerful? This work is a logical extension of Chaney's activism, the majority of which has been centered around gentrification, displacement, and state-sanctioned violence. This interview is so good, y'all. You really are going to get some gems dropped from you from an Oakland native, an Oakland historian. So please take a listen, stay, get comfortable. Before we jump into that, I want to start this podcast off by saying Black folks deserve to live and be in joy. Rest in peace to George Floyd and all the other Black folks that have been murdered because of racism. Today's wellness tip is all about letting go of grief and calling in joy for Black folks. While this mindfulness moment is meant for Black folks, this can be for anyone. So don't think you gotta stop listening now. Healing is a collective responsibility, and I hope that you can join us in that moment if you're not a person that is Black or of African descent or diaspora. So I wanted to read a piece of this daily meditation book that I've been reading every day. It's daily meditation for people of color, acts of faith, and I'll be sure to leave that in the show notes so that folks can check it out if they want to buy a copy and bring it into their daily routine. This meditation comes from May 25th, but it just feels so relevant today, so I want to share it with you. It says, life has 2 rules. Number 1, never quit. Number 2, always remember rule number 1. And that's a quote by Duke Ellington. Life is going to be challenged. There will be rough times, difficult situations, things to fall into, major obstacles, hurdles, stumbling blocks, forks in the road, knives in the back, mountains to climb, things to get over, oppositions to resolve, unpleasantness to face, feelings to understand, disappointments to accept, mysteries to solve, wonders to unfold, and promises to keep yourself. Now that you know what to expect, prepare yourself. Get ready. The only way to get to where you want to be is to do. Do what needs to be done to get there. Do it fast. Do it slow. Do it right. Do it up. Do it in the daylight. Do it by the moonlight. Do it alone. Do it with others. Do it for free. Get paid to do it. Do it for yourself. Do it for the world. The moment you give up on doing it, it will never get done. The affirmation is, I'm doing it and doing it and doing it. So the reason I chose this prompt is because I feel like although we are in grief, soon it's going to be time to do. So whatever that doing it is for you, I challenge you to step into that joy and to step into that action. The reflection question of the day is, when someone asks you what you're doing and where you're going, what do you say? So the way that this book works is it gives you, of course, a quote, an amazing quote, something to chew on, an amazing passage, and then an affirmation and a reflection. The reflection question can be really utilized timely in moments of reflection and journaling, which is the way that I have found myself healing and building my own acts of faith. So I pass that along to all the Black folks listening. What are you doing? How are you doing it? And don't give up on that. Keep going, keep breathing, keep loving yourself, and keep bringing yourself joy. I also invite you all to participate in the Black Film Festival. We're holding it down for Juneteenth this year. For folks who don't know what Juneteenth is a Black African American celebration of the emancipation of slavery in Texas on June 19th in 1865. You can look up more of that on Google if you want to see the parties who were involved. But it's a Black celebration that I'm honored to be a part of this year. During Juneteenth, we'll be celebrating and featuring Black queer films on our platform, the Black Film Fest. This event is totally free, and you can register by following us on Instagram. That's Black Film Festival, Black as in BLAQ, Film, FILM, and then Festival. And all you gotta do is just click on the link in the bio, and it should take you over to the registration page, and you can get registered for free. The event's going to take place on June 19th, which is a Friday, and it's going to be from 4:30 p.m. to about 6:30 p.m., and that's Pacific Coast Standard Time. Today's episode is brought to you by Mar Media Productions. Mar Media is a media production company that produces, publishes, and uplifts the stories, art, and journeys of queer and trans people of color and the people who make our lives incredible. You can check out more episodes of Boy Meets Wellness at boymeetswellness.com. I hope you enjoy this interview with Chaney Turner, and I hope you have an amazing day. So welcome, folks. Welcome to Boy Meets Wellness. I'm excited about today's interview. I have Chaney Turner on the line. Chaney, how are you up in Oakland? What's up, Chaney? How's it going?
Good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm feeling good today. Like goes back and forth nowadays, but I'm feeling good today. It's
Nice.
beautiful outside.
Yeah, it has been a beautiful week, which I'm really appreciating. That's the good thing about this slowdown. So for our listeners, what part of Oakland are you from? And I always like to start off with the question of pronouns, so we know how to refer to you, and what brings you joy.
Thanks. I appreciate that question. My pronouns are them, they, she. I'm an Oakland native from East Oakland, still reside in East Oakland. And, currently what brings me joy, I've just been in a lot of gratitude, had time to really reflect and think. What brings me joy is the community here. I love how folks are coming together, people with the resources and people without figuring it out to really take care of each other. And that it brings me joy to see that. It brings me joy to participate in that. It brings me joy because it gives me hope. Like instead of panic here in Oakland, people are organizing and taking care of each other.
That's beautiful when you have community aligned, right? I think that because we're all being required to stay inside in so many ways, we're very much aligned and on the same energy field, whereas often you driving, I'm on the train, right? Somebody flying out of the city, right? So it's the one moment where we're all grounded in here. So my next question for you as we get into things is, this is Boy Meets Wellness, so BOI, born obviously incredible. And I want to know, who are the people in your life, which you would say that make your life incredible? Like if you had to make a list of gratitude, who would be at the top of that list?
Well, right off top, my mom, of course, she is an amazing, courageous, resilient person who's overcome a lot, but still has it in her heart to have compassion and forgiveness. uh, and just a lot of traits that, I aspire to have. Who else? My grandmother, my late grandmother. She was an inspiration. She was able to provide, along with my grandfather. But I say her more so because I feel for Black women, coming from the South. My grandmother was born in 1918. She only had an eighth grade education, but she was very smart. And, yeah, she's like been with me a lot lately during what's going on. I found myself like going back to, just a lot of her teachings and on how to, survive. And I miss her a lot. So definitely her. And who else? Who else? You said three people that.
Yep, make you feel incredible that you would add to your gratitude list. And I'm always using three because I don't really like odd numbers. I got a weird thing about numbers. But if you want to do two,
I like three. I like three. Three is a good number. Uh, yeah. I would say the two of them, and I'll leave it at that.
yeah, that's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for bringing in that grandmother energy. I've been thinking a lot about the ancestors. I actually wrote in my journal recently because when I miss my grandmother, her sayings always pop up, which is very interesting to me. So my grandmother had an itchy back, so she used to always ask us all to scratch her back, like it was like a
Yeah.
job. And earlier, my partner was like, "Can you scratch my back?" And I was just like, "You haven't. No one's asked me to scratch their back in years." And it was just like this weird moment. And then I'm talking to my dad earlier today, and he says, "You just gonna have to do the right thing." And that was one of the quotes that my grandmother used to always say. So I find it interesting how the ancestors pick people, right? Like to speak
And how they
through.
show up.
Yeah, and how they
Mhm.
connect to us. So thank you for bringing that in.
Mhm.
So when I think about Oakland, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first moved up here, and then I got here, I was really sad because the community that I had seen probably like 4 years before I got here had like all dispersed because of all the gentrification.
Mhm.
And I think the thing that really kept me excited about being here was how you pushed Oakland when I first moved out here, which was in 2015, and all the stuff you were doing with Town Biz and, really pushing your social media to show the history of this space, even with the Black Panther. So much stuff that I knew, but it's different when you see it from the lens of someone that mirrors you, right? So where did this love for Oakland like come from? Where does that stem from in you?
You know, I just genuinely love my city, the people and the culture. Like I said, I'm from East Oakland, and the part of I'm from what they call deep East Oakland, and so there's East Oakland, then there's the deep, and the part of Oakland, the deep is the part of Oakland that I feel is neglected, but it's beautiful, But there's people that lived in Oakland for their whole life, decades or years that have never ventured past a certain part of East Oakland. And back in the day, it's like, well, you didn't see people over here unless you lived here. So there's really never been a lot of investment, uh, over on this side, even though the Golden State Warriors, before moving to San Francisco, this is where all of our sports teams were located in the deep part of East Oakland. So some folks would only come over for sporting events or concerts. I say all of that because Oakland in general, I feel gets its culture. East Oakland is Oakland culture. So, the sideshows and a lot of the slang that we use and different things originated in the deep, and we don't get that credit for it. People come, and now people come here who aren't even from Oakland that, romanticize the sideshows and different things and put on their own sideshows, but they're not from here. I've seen how my city has changed, right? Not only wasn't there any investment in deep East Oakland, but downtown Oakland before gentrification was pretty much, deserted. And before it went through a period. Before that, it used to flourish. Like you did have shopping centers and major department stores. I would go shopping with my grandmother downtown Oakland, and there was everything. And then one by one, businesses started closing and or leaving. And seeing how San Francisco, there was always more investment, and people talk about San Francisco in a different light. And so I felt that it was important for me to represent what Oakland is in whole, right? There's the culture, there's the activism. We have some of the best musicians that have come from the city. Some of the best organizers have come out of Oakland. The spirit of the city, the resilience that is rooted from, or even before, Black Panthers. That is just how the energy of the city has always been, a city of resilience, right? And so I feel that is all just ingrained in me and makes me who I am. And when it comes to the politics of the city, I feel that it is my right as someone who's lived here their whole life, and as someone who has a business here and has hired folks to hold our elected people accountable. So yeah, I'm always going to ride Oakland. She is a special, has a special place in my heart. And with everything that's going on, again, like there's no place I'd rather be during a pandemic, unfortunately. But I'm glad to be here because, like I said, we're taking care of each other. Doesn't matter if the mayor or whomever is stepping up or not, which she is not, but we're taking care of each other.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I love that you said it's like it's in your DNA because I can definitely sense and feel that in you, right? And I think that it's so healing to see that you stayed, right? And I think that's my next question for you. Is like, how has it been staying here and being a business owner? And where did Town Biz come from? Like, why did you launch that?
Well, I launched it because it was kind of like, my gift back to Oaklanders who love Oakland, right? Yes, there's other brands that exist that are Oakland brands, Oakland's Own and and Town Girl and a couple of other brands that I feel are more authentically Oakland. And Town Biz is more than apparel. I call it statement apparel, but it is when I had my physical location, I wanted to create a space where folks could come and where I could actually do business with other brands, right? Because it basically Town Biz, it wasn't just about my brand, but it was about creating a space where other small business owners who had brands could come and get pretty much incubated, right? I just wasn't doing business with vendors and bringing in their merchandise. I was doing some mentoring, some consulting with people on how to make their stuff better, how to bring in more revenue for themselves. And a lot of the vendors that I started working with are now in either larger locations or they're just doing it on their own. But I feel that if you have space, why not share it? And for people to be more self-sufficient, here people make a lot of their money on the festival circuit. Well, what about the rest of the year? That's just like 3 months out of the year. So I wanted a space where people could have ongoing business year round, right? And I also used it as a platform to give back to community in however shape or form that, whether it was monetary or just using the space to do different drives of supplies for whether it's for homeless drive. We did some stuff for Puerto Rico, Standing Rock, and again, not depending on the city. And also, Town Biz was kind of the catalyst. Not kind of. Town Biz was the catalyst for my pathway into cannabis.
That's hella powerful, man. You're so intentional. When's your birthday?
Christmas Eve.
Oh, so you were what, Capricorn?
Capricorn.
Man, y'all be so strategic. Y'all will plan something out, put it in a box, wrap it up, and it'll come out, and it'll be a surprise still, right? Like, it's like, I thought it was just a box. It's a surfboard. How did you do that? How did you put that in there? So where does this like really critical thinking around not just like it being about business, but it being about community and it being about activism? Like where does that come from? And where does that entrepreneurial drive come from in you?
Well, my entrepreneurial drive, honestly, I've gone back to work, during this pandemic, so that I can pay bills like everyone else. But I've never seen myself working for anyone, like the job where you have to get up, be there at 8, then you take your lunch at 1:30, then you take your break at, like I can't be my best. I've never imagined myself. So when I was a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was just like, I don't want to do that. Whatever that is in somebody's office all day. Although that's, I've done that work in the past, and I have had success doing that work in the past and have met great people. But as my mom would say, that's what my calling is. I feel like I feel like I'm still really building what that is, and it's coming together actually. And it's to really get out there and center community in building anything. For your business, whether it's depending on what kind of business it is. And so, just to be transparent, I had Town Biz clothing store, but also upstairs, I had a cannabis dispensary upstairs from the clothing store, right? And that dispensary took care of community. Didn't have a lot. It was a Measure Z dispensary. Folks could look that up. What Measure Z is, was a city ordinance where you could, where City of Oakland decriminalized weed. And from there were certain spaces that were retail locations, but also had speakeasies or dispensary, little brick and mortar dispensaries in the back. So that's what Town Biz was. It was a brick and mortar dispensary upstairs from the clothing store.
I was wondering where it was coming from.
Yeah. So I bring all of that up to say myself and my former business partners were able to start off small and build something large. But a lot of it was around my vision of community and just being a socially responsible company. So we started off as this small brick and mortar cannabis dispensary onto like a full on company, right? That's like doing national cannabis business and opening up dispensaries in some other states and cities. And all of it was supported through community because from inception, it was always about community. So I feel that depending on what you're doing and how you're trying to do it, it's not just about getting support from community to send donations for your investment, but a lot of the business came from just word of mouth. People sharing, even people who did not smoke weed, right? It's like, well, I don't smoke weed, but I'm going to tell somebody about this, and I'm going to buy this shirt, right? Because I also see how this business here, although small, is putting so much back in. And we're really going to see this pandemic is exposing corporations, right?
Big time.
We're going to have some corporations that's not going to make it, some that don't deserve to make it. So I'm okay. I'm like, I don't really care if y'all got a business or not. But the ones the new companies that I feel will be formed in this new America that we're in, because we're not going back to the old, people are going to pay attention to who is socially responsible companies, right? Who are the companies that made sure their employees were protected? What companies weren't out here trying to like price gouge people and take advantage of the situation? It's exposing capitalism.
Yeah,
And
big
and
time, especially right
yeah,
now.
yeah, and so that's how I move. Like, I want to build from a place of integrity in whatever business I have, or apparel, cannabis events. It has to be something that's done from a place of integrity,
I
or
say.
rooted from integrity, shall I say?
I
Yeah.
say to that. I say to that. So let's jump into the cannabis, because we gotta get to this, because this is my favorite part of you. This is my at least a part of your at least a part of your business. I remember one of the first times I got to hang out with you with Kai. You had brought some bud, and I was like, dang, I really like this individual. Like, straight to the point. They got the good weed. So yeah, like what was that navigation, and can you tell us a little bit about like the People's Dispensary, and a little bit about like your, how would I say, your not even job description, but your responsibilities as a co-founder? Because I think people hear that title and they like have like all these expectations, right? Reminds me of those memes, like, this is what my mama do, this is what my friends think I do, right? Like, people have an imagination of what that looks like, but what is the People's Dispensary, and what was your role as their co-founder?
So yeah, I was co-founder, People's Dispensary. Well, technically, and like you said, people don't really know what co-founder is because I'm not with the company anymore. But technically, I'm still a co-founder. So I am not with the company as an active member, but I'm still a co-founder.
Because that's like historical knowledge, right? Like, who
Yeah,
created it?
it's historical knowledge, and it's important that people. I've learned so much over these past couple of years, and what I'm learning is that I never really was one person that sits up and like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a boss, and I'm this. Like, I don't like those. I feel that, okay, if that's how you identify, that's cool. The reason why I don't is because there's so much to learn, right? There's so much to learn as a business owner, a independent worker, entrepreneur, whatever you call yourself. And being in cannabis is a whole different beast, and it's not easy. And I didn't actually expect to be where I'm at today. Like I said, like, honestly, was trapping out the back of my clothing store. So, but, and, now doing calls with, Congresswoman Lee, and, lobbying in DC, and like all this other stuff. And so, yeah, it was an idea, basically. That was an idea. I didn't think it would be, executed. I have a lot of ideas, but my business partner was like, "You think this is something we can do?" And I was like, "Actually, I do think this is something we can do." Under Measure Z, my goal for cannabis, and my reason for entering in the cannabis space, is because I believe that cannabis could be used as a tool to free Black people. That was basically it. And that was before, the talks of, equity and using. I was like, I think it can be used as a tool, to free Black people. And that is still my focus. Whether it's through Black folks having ownership, that's cool, or us controlling the conversation and voting in ways to where tax money is put back into communities that have been harmed, and also freeing incarcerated people, making sure that they can re-enter, and having not just their records expunged, but their rights restored, and keeping it accessible and affordable. And so
I
it was,
say to that because we
yeah,
need that. Because I
yeah,
mean, the fact that the prices is going up, but the bud is going down, is not where it's at.
it's not, and it's an issue. It's an issue that we need more support in advocating around, and more support in advocating for Black people. I don't believe that we look, we have a lot on our plate to deal with. So I'm not saying that people need to put all their attention on cannabis justice and legalization, but if people have any extra capacity, they should, because we're going to be the ones most harmed in whatever is passed through legalization, federal legalization, whether that is being, like I said, you and I, we're in California and having to deal with the same issues of trying to find weed that's affordable but good quality, right? Quality has gone down as the demand goes up. Who wants to pay $75 or more for an eighth when I can, go to my guy and still just like get 60, for a zip or something, it's like,
Exactly. It's definitely becoming almost like a pharmacy business in a way. What I really appreciated about the last time I spoke to you in person, we were just talking about that offline about like how so much has changed since that time, is like you taught me about like CBD and the power of using it, to heal, especially when it comes to like reoccurring pain and joint pain. And I've been utilizing it for my sleep, and it has been amazing. So thank you so much. I haven't slept this good in like a decade, so I really appreciate it. When did you like figure out that you could use this as medicine, like as a medicinal factor?
yeah, I was just talking about this. I was actually on a round table with some Black folks from Canada right before this call. And we're talking about CBD and the power of it to regulate certain pain or ailments. And one of the things I was saying is that education is so important. And what I appreciated when I did have my brick and mortar dispensary was that it was in the community that I serve, right? So folks like yourself, our mutual friend Kai, and other people, and not just people that I know, but when people find out like, oh, there's an affordable, Black dispensary, like, okay, let me come. The difference of going to a dispensary like what I had in one of the, larger white-owned ones, right, is that what I did not like when I would go into those types of dispensaries is that the service was just terrible. Nobody's asking you, what it is that you need. You and I, we went into a dispensary together, right? And the bud tender, he didn't really know anything, right?
Nope.
We're talking about CBD. He's all, and I'm like, oh, well, actually, you can use it for this, that, and the other. I'm not
It's like you educated him.
right. I'm not saying that he's a bad person, but what I will say in general is that Black people, just like how we go into the doctor, we're not looked at as patients. And dispensaries are supposed to be a place where you're going for healing. Doesn't matter if you have a medical card or not, you're still a patient. And so ask the leading questions, even if you're looking for flower. Just don't assume that, like, just because I'm Black, like, oh, here's the loudest of loud, highest THC that we have. Go ahead and take that. Well, how do you know that I need that, right? So when people would come into the dispensary, I would ask them, how they're doing, what are they smoking for? And then that would lead to them telling me some stuff like, well, I have this and I have that. My introduction to CBD was basically Oh, I was saying all of that to say, sorry, I'm a little high as well. I say all of that to say,
You good.
I had a medical card for about 2 decades, right? And no bartender at any of these dispensaries ever was like, "Oh, do you need any CBD, or do you know about this, or these other options?" Is just flower. It wasn't until I opened up my own shit and vendors was like, "Oh yeah, this is CBD, and this is what it could do this for." And then I started doing some more research, and then I started taking it. And over time, I realized that it was helping regulate my thyroid. I have Graves' disease, also known as hyperthyroidism, and I was on medication. Well, just to cut a long story short, after I put myself on the CBD regimen, and I've been off of my medication for 4 years. I've been off of my CBD medication for 4 years. And
Wow. So
just
you haven't taken the medication that was prescribed by the doctor in 4 years for that?
yeah. And and my doctor knows, he took me off of it because I still get my blood work done on a regular basis and all of that. But I started sharing with him, like, this is what I'm doing, because over time he was like, "Oh, your levels are doing good. What are you doing anything different?" And I'm like, "Actually, I am. This is what I'm doing." And so over time, so he just he lowered the dose, lowered, and then eventually he was like, "Let's see how you do without it." And I haven't had to go back on it. And so I knew that if something like that could help me, I need to tell people that's coming through my doors, because CBD it helped regulate my thyroid, which hyperthyroidism and some other autoimmune that we have, they're all triggered by stress. Well, the CBD regulates stress and anxiety, right? You were saying, it has sleep problems. Well, if we're dealing with anxiety, anxiety actually causes insomnia, so you can sleep better. What people need to know about cannabis in general is that we have in our body some of the same properties that the plant has, which is the endocannabinoids, right? We have an endocannabinoid system. CBD actually helps strengthen that system, and therefore also helping with strengthen your immune system too.
That's real. I was just talking to the one of my homies that owns a edible company. Really, well, it's like cannabis edibles. Do you ever heard of them? Sky High Club, LA. Yeah. Okay. So I was just, yeah, amazing edibles. So I was just talking to them, and they were telling me how they feel like people who utilize cannabis and CBD probably are more immune or fighting against COVID in a different way because our lung capacity is different because we smoke flower. It was this whole science that they came up with, and I was like, that's actually interesting. So
Yeah,
I don't know if we've done enough study on that to prove it, but
right.
I thought it was a good concept to come up with. So a little bit about tips. What tips would you give folks who are thinking about going into, cannabis and starting their own business? That's one. And then the second question is, I know that you're not a part of the People's Dispensary anymore. Is there any advice you can give to people about like the separation of businesses, right? Because like we all go into business with family, friends, people we've just met, and at some point that relationship comes to an end. So is there anything that you've learned from that?
Yeah, for anyone who's interested in entering the cannabis space, my first question is always why. People still to this day assume that cannabis is, a moneymaker. And people have to stop looking at it from like, well, I'm going to enter this drug game business, and really look at it as a business. My advice would be, if you don't have certain experience, then maybe you should reconsider entering, such as growing, cultivating. And with COVID happening, right now, it's going to change the industry yet again. There aren't any protections in cannabis because it's still federally illegal. So when it comes to banking and taxes, there's no breaks. Currently, we're trying to, myself along with an action that's led by Lenise Martin Hood Incubator, is and along with Supernova and myself, trying to lobby to get the SBA loans for cannabis, because without any protections, small and equity owned businesses will get wiped out. And so people here in Oakland and throughout California, places been out here working hella hard for equity, and you don't have any protection in a business that's already expensive to enter into. That's another thing. If you want to enter, if you don't have the capital or connections for large investments, cannabis continues to increase just to enter. So you need minimum $2 million, right? So if you're a person that has access to that type of capital, that's fine. Now, on the flip side, I don't want to sound negative. I'm just giving the realities, right? Because I don't like to sugarcoat. Those are just the realities to enter in. Now, what I do tell people is that there's opportunities to create businesses and to find jobs in cannabis, especially as it continues to grow and is legalized in other states. And once it's federally legal, will create over 1 million jobs. So you can start your own business now. What I tell people is, if you have a skill or a business that is not on the plant touching side. So everything that I was saying about like trying to find capital and investments and that's for plant touching business. And when I say plant touching, whether you're going to grow, cultivate, or open a dispensary, right? That basically just running a dispensary, that's considered plant touching. On the flip side, I tell people there's opportunity. If you're a person, there's high demand for people who work in finance. It's a cash business. So if you are bookkeeping, tax specialist, you can definitely start your own, business, taking in cannabis clients, whether it's on the dispensary side or anything. Because again, it's a cash business. People need help with their books. If you have skills in packaging and labeling, or if you have a company that does that, you can easily transition over into cannabis. That is high in demand. What else? Beauty. If you make certain beauty products, right? CBD skincare products is high in demand. So if you're a person that makes skin products, especially if you're already using natural stuff that's like plant-based, also hair products. So if you make certain types of hair products for like growth, CBD is really good stimulant for hair growth. So people are starting those types of companies. Again, there's all types of opportunity. Stock photography. If you're a person that has access to take pictures of product so that people can get it on their website or on their packaging, it's opportunity for that. And so I always tell people to think outside the box, because people are always like, I want to open a dispensary. I want to open a dispensary. Well, that is perfectly fine, but there's plenty of other opportunities that's less costly to enter in. And you don't have, and again, if you have the skills, you can just easily go ahead and transition over to that. To answer your question about transitioning from People's Dispensary, that was definitely something that if you would have asked me a couple years ago, I would not have thought, would be here. But um, my my mission has always been about community, and integrity in any business that that I'm in, and unfortunately, the vision just wasn't in alignment anymore. What I will say is that I have learned a lot. Sometimes we go into business with people that we care about, a spouse, friends, family, and we enter the business relationship from a place of love and, and with that can kind of, neglect some of the additional formalities that you need to, go through to make sure that not only you're okay, but the people that, you're working with are okay, and that your company is okay, and that people who, believe in the company, whether investment wise or not, are okay. And a lot of times, especially people of color, we fail to do that. And so what I would give advice to people is, really always be ready to have hard and honest conversations. If you're with people that are reluctant to, have honest, transparent conversations, even if it's something that is hard to talk about, that's probably not the best person or people for you to go, into business with. Really vetting people and not vetting them like, oh, you're, my homie or, my friend, but like someone that you're going to be in marriage with.
Because it's a contract, right? Contractual agreement.
Right. And marriage, is a contract too. And also, having your own lawyer is always nice. Even if you can't, have someone, if you're not in a position to have someone on retainer, paying someone who can at least go over your contract. A lot of times companies will have a lawyer that's for the company. That's fine. But for your own protections, you want to have some additional legal advice or your own lawyer that can look over, all of your paperwork. And most importantly is do your own research. Never rely on one person, a few people out of the group to, be the voices, especially if everybody is a equal partner. And it's okay to question things. I like the saying question everything, right? When it comes to certain things,
Say to that.
Especially business, question everything. And there's nothing wrong with it. And if anyone is questioning you about questioning, then it's probably not, the best fit down the line. And trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your instinct, that little voice or whatever that's, in the back of your head, or that feeling, that you have in your spirit. A lot of times it's not wrong. I'll say it's not wrong. I'm not going to say a lot of times it's not wrong. It's there for a reason. So trust yourself and, trust your third eye instinct, and build relationships with people that, that you admire, but also that you can inspire in some ways, right? You really want your people to reflect you and vice versa. And try to find a mentor if you can. If you can't, invest in a therapist.
Mentor or a therapist. I like that. You gotta have
Both.
both. Have both in the building. When you said earlier more lawyer or your own lawyer, I thought about my first interview, which was with Kay Martinez, and Kay was like, "Yo, more." I was like, "More money," because this is like we're going in the boy talk and hop soon, and in there you fill in the blank, and Kay said, "More money, more lawyers." A lot of people say more money, more problems, more money, a whole lot of things. Kay said more money, more lawyers. And I was like, that's real knowledge right there.
Yeah. And if you get money like that, then you got the law, and you got the money, to pay the lawyers. But I'll say one thing, one thing that, feels good, nothing feels much better than, especially as a Black person that grew up, low income, and being in an industry that is very white male run, and you have a lot of narcissists in cannabis and people who feel like they know everything. And I wouldn't be where I'm at if I wasn't a smart person. I know that I know I'm pretty smart. And so nothing feels better than when a non-Black person feels that they're like getting over on you. And you know what? And you'd be like, you know what? Instead of doing what you think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have my lawyer.
I'm gonna have my lawyer call you real quick.
I'm still just expect to hear from my lawyer. And yeah, Kay is right. But also I feel that it's important for us to learn as much as we can. The reason why some people in our positions have to go through some of this is because they don't teach this shit in the schools, right? They don't really, really teach going into like contracts. That's important. You think there should be an entire class. And why do I have to go? And I'm not just talking about like people who don't have college degrees. There's plenty of people out here with all types of degrees that still going back and forth to court over some contract because they didn't know how to, read a contract. Is it only for lawyers? Like, and so.
And then they put in this ambiguous language that a lot of people,
Right.
Can't understand. So it's almost like it's written to keep people, away from understanding the contract and in the other ways. Like, why are we writing it in a way that's not accessible to the people who have to sign it?
Right. And I guess we can say that about the law in general, right? There's so many Black people that's locked up because we don't know our rights, because we don't know the law. Like, no, you don't have to allow them to search your car, right? And so just empowering ourselves with some knowledge of law and finance, financial independence, and really learning how to invest. There's so many of us that later in life, we have to go and learn that on our own.
Yeah, it's very much something we got to teach ourselves, So that was hella advice you gave to folks. I hope folks know that are listening to this that you just got game. Like that was so much game. I'm over here taking my notes. I am like, yes, thank you for preaching because you brought us to church today. So if folks want to hear more of this, right? Like, because I know right now you're doing a lot of work in the speaking, consulting, doing a lot of virtual spaces. If folks want to get involved with your work or tap in, how do they do that? How do folks tap in with you?
Yes. You can find me on Instagram at social_life. Twitter, I had to get a new Twitter account because they booted me off my old one. So the new one is just my name, at Chaney Turner, ChaneyTurner. And Facebook, Chaney Turner. Same with LinkedIn, Chaney Turner. Yeah.
Hella dope, man. So anything that you want to let the community know before we jump into our last segment, which is Boy Talking Hop?
Let's see. No, I just want people to, however they can, try to stay encouraged. It's really hard. I know, like, I have my good and bad days, but it's okay to allow yourself to have a bad day or bad days. But have some community around where you don't stay in the bad. Surround yourself with some positive people, some people who are on a healthy path, because it's not going to be over anytime soon. So I just want folks, to know that, and we're going to be okay. Like I truly feel that we're going to be okay. And so that's what I want to leave folks with. Just however you can, just stay encouraged. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up because of whatever. We're going through a fucking pandemic. So nothing is perfect, and nobody should expect anybody to be perfect.
I know that's right. So let's jump into Boy Talking Hop. So this is like a fill in the blank. So I'm gonna give you a segment. So
Right.
I would give you something like money is, right, like we talked about with Kay, and you'll give us the other half of that, like what comes to your mind. And it's supposed to be quick. I tell people this, and everybody will really not make it quick. But y'all not supposed to be up here like thinking for years. It's supposed to be what comes to your mind first. But sometimes, right, like spirit takes a little bit longer. So I totally understand. So we're gonna start it off. Let's start with love is.
Everything.
Money is.
Clothes.
If I could.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, no, you said money is, and I said flow, but money flows.
Money flows.
Yeah.
If you could spend a day with anyone dead or alive, who would it be and what would you do?
Wow. I would spend the day with my brother who's deceased and his daughter.
What would y'all do? Would y'all eat some grub? What would y'all do?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would hang out with them, and I think he would probably want to go fishing.
That's beautiful. That sounds like a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Wellness is.
Health.
My favorite food is.
Fried chicken.
My favorite book is.
Sula.
Cannabis is.
Healing.
Ownership is.
Empowerment.
And last but never least, Chaney is.
Resilient.
Ashe. Thank you so much, fam. Thank you so much.
This is fun.
I love picking your brain. I love the way it works. I love that even in your speech around like things that don't work out, you always put love first. And I know that takes a lot of work because that's something I'm working on. So I admire that in you, that you, even when you're speaking about difficult moments, you always put community first, and go back to that. So thank you for being that person in our journey, in our world right now. We need more people like that.
Oh yeah, thank you, and thank you for all that you're putting out here. Like I see you, and I see this work. It's really important, and it's also inspiring. So just know that, I'm sure not only are you inspiring me, but hella other masculine centered people, that we need more people and more platforms like this. So thank you for creating this for us. My name is Chaney, and I was born obviously incredible.
Thanks for listening to Boy Meets Wellness. Stay connected on and off the show by following us online at Boy Meets Wellness. That's boy with an I. Until next time, go be incredible.